child looks. Hello everyone and welcome back to an Anime Club After Dark special. My name is Alex, but you can call me Senpai, and joining me tonight I have our Chivalry of Shota's Shotaro. Your fave could never.
I don't know why I'm surprised by any of your intros anymore. But yes, we, tonight, as I alluded to, are doing our fifth episodic review of Sarazanmai. So, show.
Me.
There was some fucking knowledge dropped on us in this episode, especially about Kazuki.
So much knowledge.
I know. I almost felt like I've been taken to school. So probably the biggest thing, a couple of big things, but one of the biggest things that was revealed in this episode is that Kazuki's fucking adopted.
I was so surprised. Well, I shouldn't be at this point, but like revealing that he's adopted is such a real, I don't know, I want to say realistic, but it speaks to the struggles of real people who are adopted. So it's like very relatable.
It's believable.
I don't know about
It's very believable.
It's very relatable, not to me personally, but to like real. It's like to real. It's applicable to real life. There, I know English.
There you go. Yeah, English is not your strong suit. Yeah, I think so too. I think it lends itself to some credibility of. I'm an only child, and I know you have a sibling, but it's a biological sibling. But I don't know what it's like to be adopted. I don't know what it's like to live in a non-biological family. But I can assume that this is kind of what it would be like, where you would never feel that close to your adopted family. Maybe eventually you would, but I have to believe that in the beginning, you probably wouldn't feel very close to this family, especially if you knew your biological family that you were adopted from in the past. By the way, if anyone can actually speak to this down below in the comments, I'd like to actually hear people's thoughts on this who maybe have been adopted, to know if that's what it's actually like.
Yeah, and like this show is really good at throwing the viewers off guard by like filling the show up with like really weird supernatural things, and then out of nowhere swinging you with a plot twist that's really applicable to real life. So
it's like we talked about it before. It's like a fucking pendulum. Like it goes one way and then right back to reality. Fantasy, reality.
Yeah, it's really a really big mood swing there.
It's just a bipolar anime.
Mm-hmm.
So something that was also said, and I do want to talk about this. So there's a flashback scene where Kazuki is in a hospital room with his dying grandfather, who looks at him, like holds his hand and says that his mother, the exact quote is, "Your mother was a sloppy woman." Now, when I read that, my immediate thought was, oh, he's trying to say his mother was a slut, and that's why he was given up for adoption. That's what I took from it.
I was so confused because when he said your mother, I thought he was talking about the mother that was standing right next to him, aka his adopted mother. So I'm like,
which would be severely rude.
Which makes, but like it makes sense in that the grandfather would know about what the adopted mother, like about the adopted mother's life, because they're related biologically. The grandfather and the adopted mother are related biologically. So it would make sense for the grandfather to be talking about the mother in the room. But on the second watch, I'm like, oh, he's talking about his biological mother that his adopted grandfather doesn't know, and he's just saying this is a sloppy woman. I'm just like, okay, because at first I didn't get that, and then it finally took me some mental acrobatics to know which mother he was talking about.
And you know, my immediate reaction to that line was, oh, his biological mother must be a slut. But I also kind of wonder, what's the general consensus on adoption in Japan? Like, is it frowned upon? Is it smiled upon? I don't know. I don't know how the Japanese as society view people who are adopted. So maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know. It's so mysterious to me.
I think I just interpreted it as the mother's like giving the child to someone else is like being sloppy.
Maybe
I don't know.
I'm kind of hoping that maybe there's some kind of
really weird phrase, and I don't really know what that means.
Yeah, and it was also said right before he died, so who knows? Maybe the fucker was out of his mind. So something else that happens in this episode is we kind of are introduced to the fact that Kazuki envies Toei, but it's not explicitly explained why he envies him. But I think that you kind of get the feeling that it's because he has a biological brother, and Kazuki doesn't. Is that right?
That's the only explanation I can think of, but it still doesn't make sense because Toei is like separated from his biological brother. So,
but at least he has one.
I mean, I'm sure Kazuki has one too, but he just doesn't want to. He's also separated from, like, he doesn't want to learn about his biological family.
Maybe he is an only child, biologically speaking.
Maybe. It still doesn't make sense to me. But that's the most likely explanation.
I do kind of agree with you, although I almost think it's a little bit more than that. It's because he actually has had a connection with his biological family, even though some of them aren't around anymore.
Or maybe he's envious of of Toei's relationship with Chikai.
Maybe
that's what he's envious of.
Maybe in his mind, having a bad relationship is better than having no relationship at all.
Wait, why is that a bad relationship?
It's not exactly the healthiest relationship.
Well,
Chikai isn't the most, like, not
the
someone you want to look up to. Yeah, not the best role model.
But
he's fucking waterboarding people in his bathtub. I mean,
oh my God. Well, I think more. What I'm saying is that Chikai and Toei are like there's no lies between them. Like they're very open about everything, and then Kazuki's lying to Haruka. So maybe that's why.
Yeah. And then I found it funny that Toei actually ends up going with Kazuki to help him do this ridiculous. So he's going to Azuma Sara meetup, but the whole point is Kazuki is going there to, let's not mince words, to fucking kidnap her and replace her on the stage at the meetup, right?
Uh-huh.
Now, why? I don't understand why Toei would go along with this. It's not like he's actually wants to have a relationship with Haruka.
I'm not sure.
I don't understand why he went along with it, but I will suspend disbelief long enough to say, okay.
I think it was kind of hinted, like when Kazuki was asking Toei for help, and then they went to a ramen shop, and then Kazuki was essentially eating the ramen as Azuma Sara, and then Toei was like, "Oh, you slurped down those noodles really well. I can help you." No, but isn't that literally what happened?
I mean, yes, it is, but good lord. You had to bring that up. Now I'm thinking, God, there's so much gay imagery going on here.
Are you surprised?
No. I was, however, surprised to find out in this episode that the real Azuma Sara is a Kappa. That shocked me.
The first time I watched this episode, I didn't understand that. I thought she was just like a mystical marshmallow. But now I realize on my second viewing that I'm a literal idiot. And I'm like, wait, that's obviously a Kappa.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, interesting.
Now she's not a Kappa in the sense that like Kazuki and Toei are Kappas, because they're like green Kappas, like a traditional, the way you traditionally think of a Kappa, like a little water demon, like a turtle. But she is a white, I guess white skinned would be the right term.
Albino
like Kepi.
is the politically correct term.
Okay, sure. Whatever. But she is similar in appearance to Kepi.
I think she's queen. Or
Maybe?
she's the princess.
Or she's got to in some way be related to Kepi, right?
I don't... Maybe she's probably part of the royal family, yeah.
Maybe. And I wonder if even Kepi knows that.
Probably not. I think Kepi would kind of like kidnap her himself if he knew that.
Yeah. But and it was really funny the way it was portrayed. Like Toei keeps trying to lock her up, and she uses her Kepi form to constantly escape from being locked up.
Yeah, that was and every time she escaped, she was like, I don't know what she said. She had a catchphrase, and then she like did a pose, and it was funny.
Something desu.
Exactly. It's kawaii.
Yeah. It's idol-like.
Very much so. And I would also, while we're on the topic of Azumasara, I would just like to point out that I just realized that there are rainbows in her eyes, and I never...
Yes.
It took me a while. But I realized that, and I'm like, wow, she's such an LGBT icon. Oh my god.
I would think that Kazuki would be more of one.
But he doesn't have rainbows in his eyes.
No, but he does cross-dress. Anyway, so something that happens at the fan meetup, Kazuki is more or less outed as being the imposter who's been sending messages to Haruka for... has it been established exactly how long this has been going on? At least since...
We don't have a timeline. I don't think
no,
so.
no, I don't know. I don't know if a specific timeline has been established yet. But basically, the jig is up.
Yeah. Actually, I don't know how this even started. Like, how would that even work?
I don't know. I was thinking about that too once this was all said and done. I'm thinking, what was the initiating action that got her believing that you were Sara?
Yeah, how does he text you and think it's Sarah?
See, I thought that too. It's like, well, maybe he has two phones, but again, that's a little Maybe they could be using some kind of an app where he can hide his identity. I don't know. But anyway, best not to think about these things. It's an anime.
Yeah.
But so I have something I want to say about that. He is essentially outed as being an imposter, and it's done in such a way where it's very reminiscent of how people who happen to be LGBT back in the day, maybe not so much anymore, but would be accidentally outed publicly, and they're so shocked by it that they just run away and cower in fear.
Maybe.
It's very... I thought there was a lot of similarities in how it was portrayed, him being outed as the imposter here, and how LGBT people used to be... how used to act when they were accidentally outed publicly.
It was definitely very... I want to say cringy, but it's like very much secondhand embarrassment watching the manager pull off his wig. I was kind of like, ooh.
But it's also, again, something that seems like, not necessarily the whole hijacking a fan meetup thing, but the way he's outed, it's something you can see actually happening.
Maybe more for, like, trans women.
Yes, yeah. Maybe not so much for gay people or, gays, lesbians, bisexuals, but certainly for people who are trans and like to cross-dress, you could see it being that way for them.
Well, if they're trans and they're not cross-dressing.
Well, yeah, I guess you don't have to be trans to cross-dress, yes. But I don't know. I just thought there was something about that struck me as just very similar to being outed for your sexuality.
I didn't catch that, but that's interesting.
So again, so much fucking knowledge getting dropped this time. The leaking scene. We learn that one of the things that Haruka has from Kazuki's biological mother somehow is he has a sachet that she has, which was like the fucking word of the day with Sarah.
Oh my god, it is like a word of the day.
I found out in this episode that there is no specific Japanese word for a sachet.
Yeah, wasn't it like just a charm?
Well, yeah, they use sachet as like its literal like old definition of a scented pouch that women used to carry around.
In like what age?
Huh? What? At what age?
No, like at what like era?
Oh, I don't. I just know that that's what sachets were originally meant for. It was for like a scented pouch you would carry around to cover up body odor.
Honey, that's what I put in my fucking bag so that they don't get wet.
But anyway, so we find that out, and it's like it's another mystery. It's like another mystery on top of the 50 million mysteries we already have. Like how does Haruka even know that Kazuki isn't his biological brother? How did he fucking meet his biological mother? I don't know.
As soon as I saw that sachet, all I could think of is this makes no sense, and my mind was just blank. I'm just like, what the fuck does that mean? I don't understand.
I don't know
I don't
either.
understand.
But when they go and do the Kappa zombie fight, the Kazuki, Enta, and Toei are, for the first time, not able to defeat the Kappa zombie.
They didn't penetrate.
They didn't go in the butt.
They did.
No, they didn't go deep enough into the butt.
Yeah, they went in, but they didn't go deep enough, you know.
Yeah, because you got to get in there real deep when you're a Kappa. And we find out what happens when you don't defeat a Kappa zombie. You can't return to your human body. You have to stay a Kappa.
Where's the downside?
No one being able to see you. Although, is that really a con or a pro?
Up to you.
It depends on how you want to look at it. Is it a glass half full, glass half empty? You decide.
It's a glass full of ass juice is what it is.
Hey, but is it half full or half empty?
Who cares? It's full of ass juice.
All right. So, in the big giant flashback scene that we got also in this episode, first of all we got to see Kazuki's biological mother, and we found out that this event is actually what we're seeing at the beginning of the anime in episode 1. He's actually walking to the train station to meet his biological mother.
Yeah, that's like such a callback.
Again, the fucking yeah, exactly. This episode had a lot of callbacks to stuff we saw in previous episodes. I thought that was a really great way to bring it back to episode 1. It's like you finally realize the significance of what you saw, which at first you thought, well, this is kind of random, but it's not. No, it's not. This actually has a fucking purpose, which you will see later. And it makes me think that everything I've seen so far that seems random out of place will eventually be explained like this.
You hope. You know.
I hope. I was like, as much as I've invested in this so far, I would certainly hope so.
Yeah.
But yeah, you also find out why we find out exactly why Haruka's in a wheelchair too.
Oof, big oof.
Big fucking oof. Yeah, so we find out that Haruka had wanted to go to the train station with Kazuki, but Kazuki wanted to basically go by himself and see his mother off at the train station. So he decided to run across a busy intersection and leaving Haruka alone on the other side, but Haruka tried to chase after Kazuki and ended up getting hit by a car. And this presumably broke at least both of his legs. I'm also presuming that since it's turned him into a paraplegic, also caused some nerve damage. Although I don't think it's been explicitly stated whether the paralysis is permanent or not, but it's certainly implied that it is.
Well, now we understand why Kazuki is so desperate to make Haruka happy. Because,
guilt.
Yeah. Because he broke the child's legs.
Guilt is a very powerful motivator. People don't realize that until you actually get motivated by guilt, but guilt is a very powerful motivator.
Oh, man. Feels bad.
And, yeah, and again, another thing we've learned the significance of from episode 1 is why there seems to be so much like apprehension around pedestrian crossing signs.
Well, in our review of the first episode, I pointed out the pedestrian walk sign that we saw in the first 15 seconds, and I was like, this is so Monogatari. But they didn't put it in randomly. It was for a purpose. So
yeah.
That was very interesting. I was appreciative of the surreal becoming real, as we see a lot of in this show.
Yes. And that makes the end title card even that much more poignant. I want to connect, but I can't be forgiven.
Big oof. Yeah.
Big oof. I'm curious. You don't have to answer this question if it's too much of a personal question, but I'm curious. Have you or anyone you've ever known been the direct cause of someone getting hurt very, very badly?
Not that I can remember. So probably not, because I should remember.
Because I never have either, but I can imagine that people who are responsible. Well, maybe
I just don't have a sense of
out.
responsibility. I just forget.
Maybe you
are
a sociopath.
Honey, who don't I hurt? Everyone I meet, I leave a deep scar, physically and emotionally.
Yes, ain't that the truth? But I can imagine this is a very realistic depiction of, he maybe goes a little bit too far and may need some mental help. But I can understand Kazuki's like guilt-ridden persona of just wanting to make Haruka happy because you feel so guilty about what you've done. And Haruka probably doesn't actually blame Kazuki. That's probably the thing that cripples him the most.
Yeah, no, it doesn't seem that Haruka or his parents blame Kazuki.
Yeah, I just...
all just in Kazuki's head.
I don't know. Yeah, I think that's the part of it that's probably killing him the most, is that inside is that Haruka probably doesn't blame Kazuki at all for this, even though Kazuki feels all the guilt for it.
Wait, eating who up? Haruka?
No, it's eating Kazuki up, knowing that Haruka doesn't blame him, even though he blames himself.
I guess.
I don't know. I just feel like that's a very realistic representation of how guilty someone can feel upon being the primary reason someone gets paralyzed.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I feel like that it's a great way to make that end card stick out.
Yeah, definitely.
I want
you
to
definitely
connect, but I can't
see
be forgiven.
The end card really sums up all of Kazuki's dark feelings about himself.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And I think on that cripplingly depressing note, we have to end this episode.
Is that a pun on how he crippled Haruka?
Yes, it is. Very nice. But yes, on that note, I'm going to wrap it up there for this episodic review of Sarazanmai. Thank you all there for dropping in to listen to this. We hope you enjoyed it, because we always enjoy bringing this stuff to you. If you want to check out previous episodes of the podcast, you can find us on YouTube, SoundCloud, iTunes, and Spotify. If you want to keep up with what we're doing, you can join us on Discord, Facebook, Twitter, and our website. Shoot us an email if you have any questions or comments, or if you have any ideas for topics you would like us to talk about in the future. Links to all these things will be down below in the description. As always, I have been your host, Alex, and I will see you next time. Say goodnight, show.
Pepe the Frog is the best kappa.
Ghetto.